But you stay on hard.
All right, welcome to another edition of the BCSN SportsWrap live on Sunday night. This MLK weekend, we got one of the hottest intro songs in all of the HBCU Sports Show diaspora. I mean, I still be juking the Dr. Cavill, so that might be number one. But Drew, I think we got the number two intro. I would challenge any and every show that's out there in the diaspora. If you can do better than our show and Dr. Cavill's, then I got to hear it. I don't know. I ain't heard it yet, Drew. Have you?
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah, I love my HBCU.
Are we gonna be quiet as a mouse?
Not today. We might dab on them though. But I mean, hey, look, we look. So like, there's two categories. There's like lyric intros, and then there's musical intros. So we'll put Dr. Cavill at the top of the lyrical intros, and we got to be at the top of the intro, the musical intro. Nah, don't start that because I'm about to boot that person, whoever that is. I'm about to boot that person. Hey,
we're gonna talk about that with James Austin. You know, not yet, not quite yet.
Don't get booted, James. I'm telling you now. I ain't for it today. This weekend, I'm on edge. I'm emotional, so I try not to be that person that lets emotion gets into my analysis of things, Drew. You know that. I don't like to let emotions rule. But this, I'm emotional about. So, hey, but all serious talk, man. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, joining us. Hit the thumbs up and the like button. We got our people watching us on Instagram as well as watching us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So we appreciate everybody. Jeremiah Clark. Yeah, exactly. We're coming in. We wanted to wait for halftime of this Packer-Cowboy game because the Cowboys are down 20 points. Let's just, for those who are curious, let's look and see what the live end game is. Ooh, Drew, the live end game, Cowboys plus 9.5. And if you think the Cowboys can win, it's plus 450. Y'all let me know out there. Is this a play? Help brother B out. Is this a play? Do you think are the Cowboys coming back? I don't have a good gauge of this. I'm shocked right now. The Cowboys are down 20 at home.
You got two things, Brian.
What's that?
First of all, the Cowboys going to outscore them by 10 in the second half because that should plus 9.5.
That's
which still doesn't give them the win.
The defense
that just gives them
Cowboys defense. If the Cowboys defense comes through, that's where you can get the plus 9. I think, right?
Well, we saw yesterday where we had 2 pick sixes on consecutive drives. So anything is possible, right?
Man, look.
In the Cleveland Houston game.
I just want to know, you guys know Jeremiah says it's not a good play. So even at plus 450, you don't think, I mean, whoo, man. All right. I want to hear you. You guys let me know out there. I see J Dub joining us on Instagram. Kylan, well, look, that's you. All right, so look, let's set the table because we got a lot to talk about today. You guys are hilarious. We got a lot to talk about. We got some big time. Well, we can say that one coaching decision has been moved off the board. Texas Southern has named their head coach. We're going to talk to Kyle Mosley of HBCU Legends at the bottom of hour number one. He's been following it. He lives in the Houston area. He's always had some good intel. Damn, Mary 305. The Cowboys are going fishing, huh? I'm gonna put my phone away, Drew, because I don't see enough people telling me that's a strong play on the Cowboys coming back. But boy, if they come back, Drew, it's gonna be a heck of a comeback. Plus 450 is gonna be one of the ones I'm gonna cry about. And anyway, we'll talk about that, the Texas Southern job. They have a new coach, Chris Dishman. Talk about that. And then also, I know some of you are curious, if you're not already, the saga of what's happening at Florida A&M might be coming to a head today as the Board of Trustees get here. You got to speak, Drew. I can hear you.
You in and out. It's in and out.
All right. Well,
there we go. The cough did it.
So again, as I was saying, coming up on Tuesday, the Board of Trustees at Florida A&M are set to hear from VP Tiffany Dawn Sykes. And we don't know. There's a thought that she is still going to present the Sean Gibbs contract for approval. There are some who believe that it'll be a presentation of James Colsey. And there's probably a lot who are thinking that the Board of Trustees will hold off on anything
and pull a Texas Southern
and say, no, we've heard from our constituents, and of course, given the vote of no confidence by the National Alumni Association, they may take that under advisement. Anyone and all of those are in play. And so we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. We'll get into talking about some basketball. Big weekend of basketball in the SWAC, the CIAA, the SIC. Everybody but the MEAC. Everybody but the MEAC. Drew was playing yesterday.
On King Weekend.
On King Weekend. So
on a holiday weekend.
Yeah. So pretty interesting stuff there. And well, we had thought that we would have our top five, or at least I thought we'd have our top five to present this week, the BCSN top five. But excuse me here with this cough. But we're kind of just waiting to see here. I guess we'll kind of look at maybe some of the rankings in general. We don't quite have it ready. So we'll kind of give some thoughts at some of the top teams. Also, Drew, I did want to mention some of the NCAA recent legislation that was passed. So we can also get into talking about that. All right. Well, Drew, any number of ways and places that we can go. Where are you most interested in starting? Which direction?
How much time are we trying to take up?
Well, you know our show. We take whatever time we need to take. We got a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour, so we got about 15 minutes or 13 to 15 minutes in this segment. We can hit on a couple of different things, or if you want to get into one topic, I'm tossing it to you, my brother.
Let's go off the radar because the FAMU, we may get it in 15 minutes, we may not. because of the passion that you and I both have for the situation. Let's start off with the recent NCAA legislation when it comes to week 0.
Okay. All right. So let me pull up this this story or the information as it's coming. I'm gonna read right from HBCU Sports.com. Chris Stevens kind of wrote the summary on this. The NCAA proposed one resolution that could affect the Division II HBCU football, failed while passing another that is more encouraging. So for, let's see, proposal 2024-5 would have given automatic football tournament bids to conference champions was opposed, meaning that the current system of super regions and the formula that decides those teams will soldier on for another day. So Drew, give a little breakdown of that, if you could.
Right now, the NCAA on the Division II level has what is called a preferred qualifier system. That means that, first of all, let's back that up. NCAA Division II takes 28 teams to the tournament. They have 4 regions of 7 teams each. So the top 7 ranked teams in each region, and all of our HBCUs are in Super Region 2, except for West Virginia State, who's in Super Region 1, and Lincoln of Missouri, who we haven't heard from in forever, is in Super Region 3. The other teams out of the CIAA, the SIAC, are in Super Region 2. So if you are ranked in the top 7, you get to go to the tournament. Top 4 get home games. 5, 6, and 7 go on the road with number 1, which Benedict has been the last 2 seasons, get a first round bye and get to host the region throughout. Unfortunately for Benedict, they have gone home in the second round of the Super Region. Now, there is an asterisk to that. That is, if you are a conference champion and you happen to rank in the top 9, then you get a bid into the tournament. What that means is, if you come in at number 9, you may bump number 7 out. And if we remember, I believe it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, Brian, it may have been the last season before the pandemic. If not, it was the season coming right out of the pandemic when Miles defeated Albany State in the SIAC championship.
Okay.
And Miles was able to get in as a preferred qualifier because they went into the SIAC championship, I believe, number 11 in the region, 10 or 11 in the region. Obviously, the win over Albany State, who was, I believe, number 7 at that point in time, or maybe even number 6 at that point in time, got them into the top 9. And they bumped out. Ironically, I believe they bumped out one of the Virginia schools that year. It was either State or Union. I can't remember which one of them had the better record that particular year. But they bumped out one of the Virginia schools because that was a year that Bowie won the defeated Fayetteville for the CIAA. But long story short, if you're number 9, you can get in. They wanted to keep that system as far as so. And if you were to think, well, what could have happened this year? Should an Albany State had beaten Benedict, Albany State would have been 6-5, if I remember that correctly. No, 7.
7 and
they went in 6-4. They went in 6-4, so
correct.
they would have been 7-4.
Right.
Had they defeated Benedict. Albany State would have gotten in based on that new legislation as a tournament champion, as a conference champion,
And
which would have left somebody out down the line. Benedict would have gotten in probably as an at-large, but that would have left another team out there somewhere.
And just to go back, 2019, Miles was finished 9-3, but they actually went into the championship game 8-2. And then they defeated Albany State 21-6. The year before they won the championship, they finished the season 5-6 in 2018, and they won the championship. And they did not go to the playoffs.
Right, and that would have been a perfect example of why they did not want this legislation to pass.
Right. Now, this is back in the day when the SIC had divisions. You know, and there was even the year when Kentucky State had a sub 500 season and went to the championship.
They were 4-6 going into the championship game.
Right.
I remember that they played Fort Valley, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they did. They did. That was 2017.
In Montgomery.
Yeah.
In Montgomery.
17. Yep. So the system will stay the same in that respect for the automatic bids. Okay. The other legislation, which is a little more positive for the D2 programs, Proposal 2024-1 did pass. Shout out to Jasher Cox, AD of Allen University, who kind of broke that the first that I saw on Twitter. And I made sure to retweet it from the BCSN network. Now, this resolution did pass, and it means that Division II schools can now participate in Week 0 competition. If you recall last year, several schools from the SIC and the CIAA, I don't recall which two schools it was, but they petitioned to be able to play a game on Week 0 this past season.
It was Benedict and Fayetteville. Because it was supposed to be a champions challenge.
Right. It would have been a championship rematch. Winner of last year's SIC versus the winner of the CIAA. That would have been a very interesting, good matchup. You know, we'd love to have seen that. So this year, several HBCU stakeholders called for it, and it's believed that they kind of spurred that on. And I'm sure there's a lot of other D2 programs that would love to be able to play the Week 0 for the simple fact, Drew, a lot of schools don't have the bye week. So think about
you don't have the bye week at Division II level.
But now, if you can play in Week 0, guess what that gives you an opportunity to do? It gives you an opportunity to schedule a bye week. If you can get somebody to play you in Week 0, now you can schedule a bye week within your schedule. So it'll be interesting to see how many D2s jump into that. Do you think? And of course, when you hear the legislation pass, it leads everybody to start speculating and wondering, will we get a CIAA SIAC challenge game very similar to the MEAC SWAC challenge game? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but let me back it up one step before I get into that, Brian. Also, what this will allow is for more flexibility with the non-conference schedule. Whereas now you can go and possibly play a Division II or an NAIA team in that Week 0 game. And this gives you an opportunity to add a possible, and I hate to say it, dare I say it, another check game or some of those rivalry games that have gone by the wayside because of conference schedule expansion and we'll just stick with the CIAA and the SIAC as they have gone from a 17 schedule to an 8-game schedule. So this allows a little bit more flexibility. And we know the CIAA plays 8 consecutive weeks with their schedule currently as it's constituted. Whereas the SIAC, because they have an odd number of teams, it has a little bit more flexibility with their schedule with a conference matchup every week in the SIC because they have an odd number of teams. Now you've got more flexibility in finding other games that we've seen gone by the wayside because of the schedules. So yeah, I would love to see it. First of all, here's the question, Brian. Where would you play this and when? I've got one place that I think this game should possibly happen, except the venue is too large.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Man, I would love to see this game in Charlotte. You can't play, obviously, you can't play it in Atlanta because despite the fact that the SIAC is based in Atlanta, the Cricket Celebration Bowl and the Cricket BXWAC Challenge run Atlanta when it comes to HBCU football. So unless there's some type of partnership with that entity, it will not happen. And just based on, and this is just my opinion, conversations with the powers that be with that, they're not interested in splitting that fandom in the city of Atlanta. So that takes Atlanta out of it. I see Charlotte, hotbed of CIAA country, The only thing with Charlotte, if you play it in, is it still called Bank of America Stadium?
Oh, where the Panthers play? Just call it that.
Yeah.
Whatever name it is.
Okay. The venue I think is too large. It needs to be in a soccer type venue, a 20 to 25,000 seat soccer stadium venue. So
here's the challenge. Real quick, think about this.
It's the soccer season.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Yeah. I like that. Emmett puts up Birmingham, and Birmingham has been a willing player in the midst of all this.
That's
but once
more
again,
SIAC
where are you going? It is more SIAC country, which is fine because you're going to have to do it in either CIAA or SIAC country. One or the other.
Maybe
there is no neutral ground.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
Yeah.
You're right. There's no neutral ground, but maybe you split it. Maybe you split it between the two. 1 year you're having it in SIAC country, the next year you're having it in CIAA country.
Right.
That way you get your Virginia or North Carolina for the CIAA, and then in the SIC, maybe you're looking at, as you mentioned, Birmingham or even Montgomery.
Yeah. Now, here's your challenge with with Birmingham. Legion Field, too large.
Right.
Here's the other challenge. You have to deal with. You could play at where is it that UAB plays at? I can't think of the name of it right now.
Birmingham,
Regis is where the baseball team plays. Progressive Field. It's Progressive Field, which is a 40,000 seat stadium, brand new stadium, nice stadium, possible. A couple other cities that you could possibly play something like this in. Nashville, but once again, Nissan Stadium too large. There is no soccer stadium in Nashville, if I do recall. I've got one way out there in left field.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
How about Chattanooga.
What? Okay. Where are you going to play at that? Where are you going to? See, here's the thing. Why would why would you go play it at another school? See, that's the thing you got to think about. I would be hesitant to go play this game at another venue, a non SIC or CIAA venue, and go give that school money. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go give another school money. I'd have to find a place that maybe had well, you already mentioned the soccer stadium, but for example, where they play that game for the CIAA in Salem, that's not affiliated with any particular university, if I'm not mistaken. So is there somewhere like that?
Macon, Georgia.
Okay. Yeah.
And the good thing about Macon or something like that is you're close enough. If you play that, the BXWAC Challenge is a 7:30 game, correct? Usually, traditionally 7:30.
Yeah.
If you play that game at noon, there's actually enough time for you to get up I-75 and catch both. If you're an HBCU football fan, like I said, I'm just out there thinking. You mentioned Montgomery. Birmingham, Montgomery. Montgomery already has the Red Tails Classic, so it's not going to push the Red Tails Classic out of the way. So unless you rebrand the Red Tails Classic, it won't happen in a Montgomery.
Memorial Stadium is the stadium in Charlotte by Jeff. And Southbound 3000 said they can come to Augusta, Georgia. I don't know what's in Augusta, Georgia. Is that where they play? Isn't that where they played the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic? Yeah. There's a thought about refurbishing Morris Brad, but you'd have to wait for it to be refurbished. I don't know what kind of work you put into it.
Nah, that's a 10-year project.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations.
Here's another one.
The city okay. I don't know how many does that seat? What does the city stadium in Durham seat?
And here's the other thing.
Yeah, last
if
point.
You don't have
break.
If you don't have suites, don't even throw it out there.
All right. Well, there you go. Because we have to have somewhere where we can ball and parlay.
Sweet
right?
sales.
Sweet sales.
Yeah, you get sweet sales.
Division II football. I don't know. That's not bad. 10,000. That's actually pretty good. But again, that'll be interesting to kind of hear what people talk about as it relates to this game and where you would have it. That'll be the big challenge. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Coming up on the other side after the break, we're going to talk to Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends and get into talking about Texas Southern finally has a coach. They beat look, they had a lot of time to figure it out. And I think they finally got it. Well, they got a man. I don't know if it's their man or whose man it is, but they got a man. And so we'll talk about this man, former Houston Oiler.
And Green Bay got a touchdown.
Yeah. I stayed off it. The Cowboys don't look like they're going to do anything. I'm watching that line move, and it's back up to it's plus 1,200. I got to do something, Drew. Plus 1,200. That's a payday right there.
You got to save your money. You got to save your money. That's what you got to do.
We'll figure it out after the break.
You got to save your money.
Brian's going to make a foolish decision in the break, so we'll find out whether he did or did not after this commercial break. There's a tease for you. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan, A.D., and joining us is Kyle Mosley of HBCU Legends. Kyle, good evening, my brother. Thanks for joining us, man.
What's going on, Coach? What's going on, A.D.?
I think he's there. Hello. Hey, okay, there you are. Drew, you there?
Drew say
What's
I'm
going
buffering.
on, Kyle?
Drew's buffering. He's buffering like the Dallas Cowboys are buffering right now.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle, you got to help me out here.
I bet y'all loving it over in Houston.
Hold on. Okay, the Cowboys, Kyle, you got to tell me. Oh, it's up to plus 1,400. Jesus. I'm going to put the phone away. Live in-game, Kyle. Do I play the Cowboys to win?
Save your money.
Really? Okay.
Save your money.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right.
Come on.
Thank you, Kyle.
I mean, you know, it's not like we haven't seen a team come back from 24 before.
Yeah, but
this is not Tom Brady, a quarterback.
I don't think this is going to – well, look, you never say never. I was saying certain things about the Texas Southern job search, and things went totally
left.
I guess I wouldn't say 360, just went a damn different direction than we ever thought it would be, you know?
Yeah.
Someone made the left at Albuquerque.
Yeah, well, whatever. Paris, Texas, East Texas, whatever.
Edwin, I don't know. Edwin, see, you're the only person telling me to double down right now. Everybody else is telling me to stay away.
Yeah, but he's playing with your money.
Thank you. See, that's how you.
No offense, Ed.
Yeah. Okay. So Kyle, you have been on the boots on the ground. You've been there. You're in the Houston area. Texas Southern finally gets their man. What a saga after 3 months where, you know, athletic director Kevin Granger presumably had, well, not presumably, from what we know, he had presented to the Board of Regents Fred McNair to be the next coach. Fred McNair essentially walked away from Alcorn with the belief that he had this offer, because he even went to Alcorn to sort of counter propose what they were offering. And the number was so high, you kind of was led to believe, okay, he's getting somewhere near that number from Texas Southern. It's got to be. But Alcorn State said, no, we're good. We'll stay internally. So that was where we started. Then chaos happened. It led to multiple names. Give us just sort of the elevator version of what you've seen and how this played out.
Well, first of all, yeah, the top choice based upon the recommendation from Kevin Granger, Dr. Kevin Granger and the search committee was going to be Fred McNair. It wasn't going to be just once. It was going to be a couple of times, right? And I think up until the 11th hour this time, Fred McNair still was the one who checked all the boxes for the search committee. But the board was not budging. They wanted to have somebody who probably has some connection to the Houston area, as well as to have a professional background to themselves and kind of have a fresh approach to coaching as well. And they looked at Brett Maxey, who is a Texas Southern alum, as well as Chris Dishman. I know Chris had 3 interviews, he told me, that went very well. Brett had a couple of interviews he thought went very well himself. and the board pivoted at the last moment, and I got to credit President or interim President Sias. She also was kind of frustrated with the whole process. She said, well, look, we got to come to some sort of compromise. And the compromise they were able to digest was Chris Dishman.
Interesting use of words when you say compromise.
Yeah.
So are they compromising because he's from the area? You mentioned that he has business ties. What's the background on Chris? What has Chris Dishman been doing over the last several years since he got? I mean, I remember the name when he played for the Oilers,
right?
But I can't recall how long ago that was.
Yeah, look, Chris was in Houston Oilers, and so his name here in Houston is a good name. He was a part of that Nick Saban tree now that you have Bubba McDowell as well as Chris Dishman, because he was their defensive backs coach for that run and shoot type of offense that Pardee had. But that defense, they called themselves, especially that secondary, the Young Guns. It was Bubba McDowell, Darrell Lewis, Chris Dishman, my cousin Steve Jackson, and a couple other guys that really made up a really solid defensive backfield for a number of years. Then a couple of seasons later, you have Eddie Robinson Jr. that was drafted out of Alabama State, right? So those guys were all teammates together, and Eddie George came a little bit later. But if you look at the SWAC, you look at HBCU head coaches, now you have 4 of those guys out of the Houston Oilers. Now, when it comes to Chris, he's not a businessman like Eddie Robinson Jr. was, that they brought him out of the business sector to be able to come play and not play, but coach for Alabama State. Chris is more like the assistant coach that has been through a number of places. He's been in the pros, high school. He's also been at his last couple of stints was with the USFL and XFL as a defensive coordinator. So now he is here in the SWAC, and he's going to show what he can do as a head coach.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Eddie George would also probably fall into that, coming out of the business world into coaching,
True.
but you had that pro background.
Right.
Drew, I got other thoughts, but go ahead. I want you to get in there. I got other thoughts as well. Go ahead.
So I've been trying to digest this since Friday, bits and pieces. I didn't catch it until late Friday. I was away from my electronic devices for a bunch of the day on Friday. Actually, until somebody called me and asked me about my opinion about it. I'm like, what you talking about? They actually named the coach? Because I'm serious. I really didn't know until about 5, 6 o'clock on Friday. Now, Chris Dishman seems like he would check all the boxes as far as being a good coaching candidate. He's got prior coaching experience. He's got that NFL pedigree that the committee was looking for, et cetera, et cetera. My question to you, Kyle, is this: were these basic requirements passed on to the search committee and Dr. Granger before they got that deep into it, especially when it comes to a recommendation of a Fred McNair, who, if those are your requirements, does not check some of those boxes? So when was that communicated? Was it after they came back with Fred, or did the search committee go rogue and choose Fred?
Okay. I don't know if the correct term will be go rogue, but the search committee had their criteria. When I spoke to Dr. Granger while they were going through the initial stages, he gave me 5 key points. The ones that come to mind previous head coaching position, a winning program, being able to develop and recruit young men, as well as having success at the HBCU level and understanding the HBCU football world. That was his wish.
Fred checks all 5 of those boxes.
Yeah, that's why if you
Chris checks 3 of those
based
5.
upon everything that Dr. Granger and the search committee put forward, yes, Fred McNair was the candidate, right? If you look at exactly what happened with Chris Dishman, the board had their mindset of what they wanted. It was 2 or 3 members. I think it was more 3 members that initially came back after the recommendation was first put to them for Coach McNair, that they wanted to look at Andre Johnson or some other people and put them through the process. That's when Dr. Granger and the search committee went through another round of interviews, brought back a couple people that they did not have direct one-on-one interviews with, one-on-one face-to-face interviews. And then they put together another name out there, and it was, again, Fred McNair. I think they couldn't come to a quorum. The interim president, she was on vacation. They went through a couple of side interviews, some more interviews, went through this again. They were about to put the name of Fred McNair back out there. And that's when they said, hey, it's not going to fly. They came to the compromise, and the compromise was Chris Dishman.
My next question for you, Kyle, and you've been closer to this situation than most of us, but you are on the outside looking in. Was there a way that this could have gone on not so publicly with everything? And I know once you call a board meeting, there are certain rules and laws and regulations that you have to do.
Right.
But did we have to do this out in public like this and essentially embarrass Fred McNair? Because now when Fred McNair goes to interview for his next job, someone may look at him like, is he damaged goods? Why didn't Texas Southern want him? I'm hoping that's not the case, but there's going to be somebody on somebody's board who's going to say something like that. So how could we have done this better without doing this so far out in the open, given the law, rules and regulations there in the state of Texas?
Well, you look at what's happening with FAMU. You looked at what happened over at
You would say that, would you?
I take that back. Everything's real smooth.
But you're telling the truth. I'm just messing. You telling the truth. So go ahead and preach, my brother.
All right.
It's Sunday, so you can preach.
Hey, and the church said. But look, I'm telling you this, man. If you look at what's happened over at Grambling, there were some rumblings there. You look at Southern University, when they got to the final board meeting, if you ever watched that board meeting, I forgot the attorney's name. He laid out why he was disapproving Terrence Graves as the head football coach nomination. But if you go through all of this, you're going to have those people butting heads. You're going to have different ideas, who should be in, who should be out. You're going to have the alumni outside looking in who feel they're stakeholders, but do they really have enough power to be able to make those decisions right now? That's just my question, my theory, that even Texas Southern's alumni, they put a letter together asking questions. They didn't get any answers. And I think also us as the media, you're not going to really get true answers and an understanding of what is going on between the board and the athletic department, presidents, athletic director, whomever. Those are those private sessions that is always going to probably remain private. But I think to answer your question, AD, is that I think going forward, most of these athletic directors, boards, presidents. Everybody needs to sit down in one room together collectively, put their wish lists together collectively, and therefore that can eliminate some of the back and forth that we saw, especially here in Houston.
You know, this ain't nothing but politics, and I'm gonna pass over to you, Brian. But I gotta throw this in. And me coming from having worked for both city and county government and been dealt with this stuff, you always have these back channel meetings before you present something before your council or your board of commissioners or whatever for approval. If you're a smart politician, you always go through and do a straw poll. If I present this, do I have your vote? Yes or no? Do I have your vote? Yes or no? And if there's too many no's, you make sure that it's not on the agenda that particular meeting until you have enough yeses to push it through. Now, you hope that is unanimous. You always want unanimous, but you at least need to have the majority before you present that. And I don't think that this was done in this particular case there at Texas Southern. Go ahead, Brian.
Those are good points, valid points.
The 2 or 3 regents who I believe that they first started by not being present for the initial vote. Is that my understanding of how this started?
So I think I got clarification. It wasn't more that they were not present. I think it was more that they did not choose to vote.
Okay. And so you had to have, and what's the,
so
you had to have a certain,
you had to have a certain
number, you had a quorum. So what was, if I've seen the pictures, there's only like 7 board of regents, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 8.
1, 2, 3, 2, and a student, probably there's 7, yes.
7. So you had to have how many for quorum?
Is it
4?
5?
Would be a quorum under normal.
4 or 5? Okay, yeah.
They require 5.
So I guess where I'm going with this is trying to understand, did those objectors or those who abstained, whatever it is they did, did they not like Fred McNair, or was it maybe, hey, it wasn't about Fred McNair, this was really about Andre Johnson or some other agenda saying we want somebody with closer ties to the community? Right. Which one do you think this was more about?
Can I check D, all the above, or what? Because and add E. How about add some more to it? Politics did have a lot to do with it. Politics was on the board, man, and the safest thing I can say at this time is that people have different viewpoints, right? And we have different perspectives on what should go on and how certain things should happen. And I think at the last minute, certain people decided to become the voice of reason in their minds. So, and I think that's what happened. And look, it's not I think it's a learning situation that I don't think Texas Southern will ever repeat this situation anytime soon, hopefully, right? Especially for Chris Dishman's sake. But I also believe this is also a learning lesson for a lot of athletic directors, especially in the HBCU sports scene, that they could be able to get the decision makers all together on one page to make sure that we don't have any negative press. We're not looking like we're bumbling, stumbling, and rumbling, right? And we're just doing the best that we can to be able to put the best candidates forward for the institutions.
So I'm glad you mentioned
I don't think they learned that lesson in Tallahassee.
Well, look, it's funny you mentioned about the athletic director because okay, so my question and thought now goes to Kevin Granger. Now, Dr. Kevin Granger, excuse me.
Dr. Kevin Granger.
Right. He to my knowledge, he had been given an extension prior to all of this.
Yes.
So I can't believe they don't have confidence in him. But at the same time, you kind of went away from supporting his candidate. So what is his? How is I hate to use the word feeling because I think sometimes you have to move away from feeling, but for lack of a better word, how is he feeling about this? I mean, it's just you got to feel a little uneasy if you go.
I don't think that's the case.
No?
Dr. Granger, when I spoke to him, was it when their final non-conference basketball game? He was pretty confident in what was going to happen going forward. He felt as though he and the board were now on the same page. There was no more miscommunication that was going to happen. And also, guys, think about this. There's an interim president in place.
Okay.
And that interim president came from the Board of Regents to fill that position. She's retired, and she's done the best job she could to be able to alleviate any angst between the board, athletic director, and whomever else. So I think it was just a collective, some missteps probably, but I don't think it's a vote of no confidence in Dr. Granger one bit.
So I get so what could you said this a couple different ways. What could have been done? What do you think Dr. Granger could have done differently other than what he did, which it sounds like he went through his process, interviewed multiple people. Hey, now interviewed, and you get a pool of candidates. Hey, now, and you come up with a selection.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think he could have done differently? Could he have snuffed out those dissenters? I mean, I don't know how you figure that out, but
what's interesting, the dissenters were people that you would not have thought were going to be the dissenters.
Okay.
Okay. And I just look, man, when you put up Andre Johnson's name as a potential candidate, not realizing that future Hall of Famer does not have a college degree yet.
Oh, wow.
Which automatically, it's my understanding he doesn't have his degree.
Should disqualify.
Yeah. In the state of Texas, a state-run school cannot have a football coach without a degree. Chris Dishman got his degree upon leaving Purdue.
Right.
So
that's right. I do remember he was at
Brett
Purdue.
Maxey has his degree. So those are things that you really needed to understand if they were the Board of Regents to understand that part of the qualification process.
It's funny you said that. I'd never heard anybody.
Let me cut you off for a second. If you remember, Dion went back to Talladega
to get his
degree before he took that position at Jackson State. I mean, he got his degree at Talladega that summer and was named the head football coach at Jackson State that fall. So,
yeah, but here's the issue I think with Andre Johnson, and I'm not trying to besmirch his name or anything. And if I'm incorrect, guys, always edit me on this. I know only one case they spoke about him going back to school, and I think that was back in 2010, that he was going to go back to Miami to try to finish his degree, and I don't think that ever was completed. And so if you're talking about Coach Prime's situation where he only had, few hours to complete his degree, I think Andre Johnson probably had more hours than it would take for him to satisfy the requirements to become the head coach.
All right. Kyle, I gotta let you out of here. I couldn't let you out of here without kind of asking your thoughts. I know you've been focused in on what's in your backyard with Texas Southern, but I want to give you a word or an opportunity to maybe share some thoughts on what you've seen on the saga at Florida A&M. From a different perspective, because I know me, particularly, even Drew, we're so close to the sun on this, but from your perspective, what's your take on what you've seen over the past week and what might be coming ahead this upcoming week? Yeah.
And shout out to Coach Trey Oliver, who kind of got through certain channels to me that he was not a candidate, and he said he was never a candidate for the position over at FAMU.
Okay.
All right. He wanted to make that very clear to everybody that he was not. And he was only asked a recommendation about his friend Sean Gibbs, and that's how Sean got to this. Coach Gibbs, I should say, got to this stage, right? All right. So when I look outside in, I think Commissioner McClellan has a lot of work to do with our athletic departments. Okay. And I think Commissioner McClellan can help a lot of these situations from being a lot of these entanglements from occurring going forward in working with the people in these athletic departments. Now, specifically, I think Athletic Director Sykes is now doing the best she can. I know she's going to sit down a couple of meetings this week coming up to be able to hear the Alumni Association people or whatever, boosters, whomever, and then she's still going to make her decision, right? I think also when you sit down with Dr. Robinson and A.D. Sykes, I think it's going to be a situation where people have to understand that you're not going to always get who you want, but you're going to get possibly the best person we can be able to have at this particular time, especially since they're behind the 8 ball, but you just won the Celebration Bowl, and the recommendation for Coach Gibbs comes very highly from people like Trey Oliver, who is a championship coach himself. So why wouldn't you give him an opportunity to become that coach? That's just my viewpoint. Were there other candidates out there? I think there possibly are some people that they could possibly sit down and talk to, but I don't know at this late juncture if that's going to remedy the situation.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, we've on our show had Sean Gibbs on the show, and personally, I like him. It's not, I don't want to say liked. There's nothing he's done that I don't like him personally. Think he's a great coach. I've used the analogy of, I never saw him in orange and green, put it like that. I never saw him in this position. And again, that's because when you have a winning program, what I've seen historically, most of the time, 99% of the time, maybe not always, but it seems like you kind of work from within or within your environment. When you've won, when you've built, and we've been the most dominant team in the SWAC for 3 years. Jackson State has been right there with us, so I don't want to poo-poo and say they haven't. But, it's been us and them. And they made a change and went right to somebody internal. And I think, for me, that's what I feel, and that's a large contingent of people feel, wondering why that is not happening. And yes, the AD does have the right to do all these things that you mentioned. And Coach Gibbs, he's won, been a championship. Again, like talking to him when we had him on the show, rooting for him at Fort Valley State, not saying he can't go somewhere else. All those other things are still like two things can be true. You know what I'm saying? And that's, where I think the disconnect has come. And that's the challenging part for the administration. That's why.
Yeah. Look,
Bryan, all I want to say is, Bryan, I want to take an optimistic point of view. Is Sean Gibbs is the candidate of choice? Look at Alabama. They didn't stay in-house.
Yeah, look, Alabama didn't stay in-house, but if you look at Bill Belichick going out, he did recommend Gerard Mayo, right? If Coach Simmons thought the next person should be still someone on his staff, I think you take that into advisement, right? The direction and the vision for the program, the AD has to be able to make sure they have the person they want and feel good with and will have a solid relationship with. You don't want any more of these, the AD struggle with the head coach. You don't want that any longer. And sometimes when you come and take over a program, you got to put your own blueprint on the program, and you have to, and sometimes that blueprint and that vision is not in alignment with what the alumni think it should be. But the alumni sometimes has to be able to trust that athletic director that they're making the best choice possible. Now, if they stumble a couple of times, then yeah, we're going to have to sit down and talk.
And you've got to be able to sell that vision. That so when you do go outside, you've got to be able to sell that vision. And that's sort of another thing that's sort of been missing in this process, according to a lot of folks.
And Coach, look, that's a part of why it's so important that this is becoming a learning process, because a lot of these ADs are not homegrown, and then they're making the I will say the assumptions that I can rule the world, so to speak, and you guys have to just go along with what I say and do. But hopefully this is a learning lesson that will not be repeated for AD Sykes as well as the alumni over at FAMU.
Yeah. Well, I have this will be an amazing the next, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday will be amazing theater and television, and we'll see how it plays out. I have no predictions. The street committee has told me one thing, and then I've heard another thing, so I don't even know what to believe at this point. So your guess is as good as mine. If somebody were to randomly call me up and say, "Hey, what do you think's gonna happen?" I'd be like, "Man, I don't know. I have honestly no opinion, no thought."
Maybe FAMU will get somebody out of left field.
Yeah, look,
just like Chris District was out of left field.
Exactly. Look, I remember the day before I talked to those guys at game day. Hey, man, it's going to be Coach McNair, and that's where all sign pointed to Coach McNair. But hey, things can happen at the 11th hour, and you just got to roll with it, baby.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Kyle, let people know where they can follow you, where they can find you, and appreciate your time this evening, no doubt.
Yeah, well, guys, I am a part of HBCU Legends, which is on Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. You can check us out at hbcu.media, or you can go on Twitter. You can check us out at HBCU Legends, Instagram, as well as Facebook at HBCU Legends. You can find all of our content there, and give us a follow, give us a like. And like I always tell people, I'm editable. You know, if you don't like what I say, I can edit you out. No, I can edit you guys the situation. But no, I'm just kidding. Just jokes. Them just jokes, guys. But Bryan, thank you so much. And AD, thank you so much. You guys do a tremendous job here at Black College Sports Network. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. Kyle, be well.
And before you go, Kyle, I want to say this. For those who are on the feed, on the chats, if you have not had the pleasure of reading Kyle Mosley's articles on HBCU Legends, sometimes they're op-eds, sometimes they're actually, just facts and reporting. But whatever he puts out there, if you have not had the time or taken the time to read him, Kyle is one of the best follows out there when it comes to HBCU media. And I'm not just saying that because he's right here on the screen right across from me and everything, but he does a good job of reporting there, despite being a Saints fan.
AD, what's your address again?
I'll send you my cash app, man. How about that?
yeah, Zell me, baby, Zell me. and
Hey,
Bryan,
Zell, there you go.
and Bryan, I'm so happy you kept your money. That score.
Yes, I am too. Woo! I say crisis averted, boy. Look,
Definitely.
thank goodness. Oh, while you mentioned being your coverage of the Saints, I gotta quickly ask you, what do you approve or disapprove of what Jameis Winston did on the final play of the season?
Man, I just got reamed about that because I approve, but I just had one lady out of Tampa Bay said it's funny how somebody who's in Jameis's pocket can be able to write this type of stuff. I was like, man, shit, if I'm in Jameis's pocket, I'm missing those big checks he's sending. I have to be able to give him the right address.
You just getting the pocket change.
Yeah, man. But look, I understand the spirit of the decision, right? Did he go against his coach? Yeah, that's wrong. The spirit of the decision understood from him as well as the teammates who supported him on that. But Jameis was being the bigger man to say, hey, it was on me. I'm the quarterback. It's my decision. But also, guys, I'll be honest with you. It didn't look like Jameis was going to be returning to New Orleans anyway.
Okay.
And I could be wrong again, but he just restructured his contract that week to be able to have 2 voidable years. So essentially, he's going to become a free agent.
I believe there's an opportunity, still a starting opportunity for Jameis Winston somewhere, man. I still believe in the kid. Even though, he may, wherever he goes, he may be coming up on his last opportunity to be a starter. So, and the way you explained it right there, Kyle, that's exactly how I explained it to one of my students at school who asked me, because they were like, hey, Mr. Fulford, what'd you think about Jameis Winston? And it took me like this long pause to kind of figure out, okay, how do I say this within the spirit of what I get it? But yeah, was he wrong? Probably. But his intentions, if you look at his intentions were not out of disrespect or to get anybody hurt, but he really, so that's kind of how I explained it. Very similar to how you just did.
I'm more concerned about the reaction of Coach Allen. And AD, I know you're a Falcons fan, so
no, I'm not. Actually, I'm not.
All right, well, good. All right. So bottom line, if a guy meets me at midfield and starts saying some very derogatory names and words toward me, them fighting words.
The bleep button didn't work fast enough. The bleep button didn't work
words.
fast enough on that when it was live.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't go to the press conference and make a bead to that podium. It's just my opinion. I don't make a bead to that podium and say, I apologize. That guy never apologized for how he spoke to Dennis Allen. And that's the concern I had. And I think the players were right to support Jameis. And I think Dennis's 2 assistant coaches that were about to go to blows with Arthur Smith, I think they were right for supporting him as well.
I love Dennis Allen's reply, though. That's the greatest reply ever. I understand. He didn't even try to. He's like, I understand. I understand. You're certainly 38 hot. I get it. I understand. That's all he can really say. I understand.
I didn't understand. I'm sorry. I didn't understand. All right. Guys,
Kyle,
thank you so much.
Have a good night, man. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Appreciate you, my brother.
All right. Kyle Mosley. Make sure the guys check out HBCU Legends. That's si.com. HBCU Legends. Let's take a short break, come back with a little bit more right here on the BCSN SportsWrap. Maybe get into talking a little bit of basketball talk. Also, some big news happening. Somebody in the SWAC East might have got a little bit better over the weekend. We'll talk about that on the other side. You're watching, again, the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Amber May, and I'm a voice actor out here in Los Angeles. I'm the voice of Dia in Genshin Impact, Yanqing in Honkai Star Rail, the narrator in Comey Can't Communicate, and I also voice Brooklyn Barbie in the movie Barbie Big City Big Dreams. I'm here to let you know that I'm going to be a guest this year at Urban NerdCon in Atlanta. Yeah, woo! That's going to be April 26th through the 28th at the... where are we going again? It's going to be at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. So, if you're a Genshin Impact fan, a MiHoYo fan, and you live on the East Coast, you got no excuse. Come see me. Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Come on down. Let's do it. Let's get it on. Ugh.
TheUrbanNerdCon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you there.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. Got to again appreciate Kyle Mosley, HBCU Legends, for joining us. Very thankful, Drew, that I did not go live in game with the Cowboys. They're getting walloped.
I told you, my brother. Told you.
Lord.
And I think it was Edwin Moore. You caught that. That's all I'm gonna say. That was a 40-inch slip.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Edwin, you love messing with me about my Colts. All right. Let me see. Edwin asked, was it one of your players who could go against what you call in the future? I don't write. What is he asking me here, Drew? What if it was one of my players? I don't know, Edwin. I don't know. I don't know. Explain that again, Edwin. I'm missing something. All right. Might be a new coach for the Cowboys next year. Might be the end of the Mike McCarthy era. Bad times in the D.
Maybe it's the end of the Dak Prescott era. He's up for a contract.
You know what? It's so hard to have. Okay, here's the thing. I firmly believe this with quarterbacks in the NFL. There are the top 10 quarterbacks all have a shot at getting you to the Super Bowl. Even if you're number 9 or 10, because you have that capability. I think there's a group of quarterbacks in the bottom 10 that won't get you there. And then there's a group that's in the middle that might catch lightning in a
playoff game.
They might win you some playoff games. They might catch lightning in a bottle if everything else is great, i.e. Trent Dilfer and your defense is just superb. You know what I'm saying?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco, yeah. I think Dak Prescott is one of the top 10, but down on the bottom of the top 10. And so you got to give him, I don't know, you got to give him maybe good play calling. Look, let's be real. The Cowboys' running game has not been great this year. It really hasn't. They haven't gotten what I thought they wanted out of Tony Pollard. Trust me, I say that because I had Tony Pollard on my fantasy team. He ain't done jack squat this year. So I don't think they really got what they wanted from Pollard. Now, I don't know if that's him or something else. You know, again, I don't follow the Cowboys hard, but I just know for them to go 8-0 in the regular season at home and to do this, man, this is is this a fireable offense?
You know what this reminds me of? Peyton Manning.
Hey. I'm not going to disagree with you. Hey, look, I'm not going to disagree with you.
How many years?
Brought it up.
How many years was Peyton?
Damn you for bringing it up.
How many years was Peyton one of the top quarterbacks and not the most talented quarterback and could not do squat when it came to the playoffs?
He had a tough time
until the 1 year. Until the 1 year when they got the home field advantage throughout and finally beat TB12.
Yeah.
And then never did it again.
We had to do that to come from behind.
Until they got to Denver.
With a good defense.
Until they got to Denver. And the first time he was there with Denver, got his tail kicked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Dan Marino.
Thank you. Good point. Hey, good point. Great point. I would go. You should have said Dan Marino before Peyton Manning. So, I figure you were just kind of digging at me. I know you were. So,
but the one difference between those two and Dak, at least they got to a Super Bowl at some point in time in their career. Dak has failed to do that yet. Dan Fouts. There we go. Old school. Dan Fouts.
All right. Okay. So speaking of quarterback play, before we get into talking about this past weekend on Friday, former Texas Southern quarterback everybody finally made his commitment choice.
Check your mic.
It's not your ears. It's not your ears.
No.
Phillip Rivers. Yeah, Phillip Rivers falls into that category as well. All right. So, former Texas Southern quarterback body commits to stay within the SWAC with Alabama State. Shocking, isn't it? I think it is. So, Body, of course, in 3 seasons at Texas Southern, recorded 4,170 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 INTs. Rushed for 12.
Turn to your left.
Rushed 1,259
there you
yards.
Go. When you turn to your right, we lose you. So Whatever you're reading off of, move it to the other side.
In addition to the body rushed for 1,259 yards on 234 attempts, scored 6 touchdowns. He was hurt. Again, significant injury at the end of the 2022 season. And it's sort of, I don't know how accurate, but it's there might have been some carryover. Well, he went into the start of the 23 season healthy, according to reports, but he did get injured in that game against Prairie View, Labor Day Classic. And I don't know if he really returned. I don't think he returned.
He did not.
After that.
He
did not return after that game at any point in the season.
Which leaves him with 2 years of eligibility.
Right. Took a red shirt, 2 years of eligibility remaining. So that's what he'll go to Alabama State with. And it'll be interesting to see because as we've watched Alabama State over the last couple of seasons, consistency from the quarterback position has been missing for Alabama State. They've had a good defense over the last 2 seasons. Last year was really good. It was ranked as one of the best, right up, not far behind Florida A&M, who had the number 1 rated defense at the end of the regular season in the FCS. So I ask you, Drew, how much of a push towards being a favorite does the Andrew Body commitment make for Alabama State?
Given everything that is happening in Tallahassee, if I were to have to put a vote in now or in the near future, I am placing Alabama State at the top of the East right now. If you remember going back fall last year, Andrew Body was probably what most people in the media thought was the number 2 dual threat quarterback in HBCU football behind Davius Richard. Mm-hmm. So you add that type of talent to at Alabama State. Yes, I said if I had to vote today, Edwin, yes, I would say Alabama State would be my number one if I had to vote today. And hold that, I'm gonna get back to that thought from Edwin. But yeah, I think there's 2 things with Andrew Body. A, can you keep him healthy? That has been the problem with Andrew Body for the 2.5 years that he played for Texas Southern, not being able to stay healthy. The back end of his freshman year, he was injured.
Okay.
He was injured last year.
Okay.
And then, he was injured his sophomore year, and then, of course, we know what happened. What happened last year, but he took a pounding there at Texas Southern. What was the other thing about at Texas Southern that we said we needed to see his greatness? He needed to play in a team that had a defense where he did not have to put the weight of the team on his shoulder and play super quarterback without the comfort from behind and trying to throw for 400 yards or have 400 all-purpose yards, rushing and passing. So that was one of the other things for Andrew Body. And we talk about Andrew Body last year being the number 2 quarterback behind Davius Richard when it comes to dual threat. Let's also remember that a lot of people had him as one of the top quarterbacks, not named Shedeur Sanders, not only in the SWAC, but in FCS football. I mean, there was a short list. You had Shedeur, you had Davius, and then there was probably, you would have had Body ahead of Musa at one point in time. if you were looking at it. Musa being a 2-year starter at Florida A&M. But when those two both started that particular season, which would have been Musa's junior year and Body's sophomore year, you probably would have had Body ahead of Musa at that point in time. So that's just what the pundits have kind of put out there. Like I say, right now, Alabama State, depending on how this FAMU situation unfolds, FAMU and Jackson State, 2-3. Pick one. It depends on how this FAMU situation unfolds. Now, it's January, y'all. It's January. This number one, this will shuffle before July, SWAC Media Day. And this will probably shuffle again come week 0 in August when FAMU takes on Norfolk State in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. But right now, January 14th, with that signing on January 12th, I have to put Alabama State as the leader of the pack in the SWAC East. Go ahead, make your point. I got something else I want to come back to.
Well, so I'm curious to see the kid from Jackson State, Emmett, you talked about, and Jacoby Morgan. I'm interested to see what he does for Jackson State. I liked what he did at the end of the year. I think there's a bright future with him leading Jackson State. The big unknown for Florida A&M, the defending champs, is you don't know who's going to be the quarterback. Well, let me go back. You don't know who the coach is going to be. You don't know who the OC is going to be.
And who's the quarterback.
Or the quarterback's going to be. So I think it's perfectly fair to have these 1 and 2 thoughts with Alabama State and Jackson State. And then I was even asking the question about returning quarterbacks. Well, those are the two top returning quarterbacks. And really Morgan of Jackson State is you're shaking your head. There's somebody else.
You said Alabama State and Jackson State?
I said in terms of top returning quarterbacks. There's some other returning quarterbacks out there that I'm missing.
You can't consider Andrew Body a returning quarterback because he's going to a new team.
Okay, so there you go. Then so if I were to say
which is where I was going with my point, which is why right now, honestly, I would put Jackson State ahead of FAMU for that one factor. They are the only team, to my knowledge, in the SWAC with a returning coach and quarterback.
Jackson State.
Yeah. Allen's done. Whoever that is.
I thought Aaron Allen was done as well. Matter of fact, because he was in he was just in that All-Star, that HBCU BCSN Showdown bowl game a couple of weekends ago.
Now you could possibly consider Tyler Macon returning quarterback at Alcorn because he would be the incumbent, but he's got a new coach.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's jump to some basketball talk here for a minute. I'm going to go through a few things.
Let's start with the recruiting calendar first.
No. I don't want to talk. Okay, recruiting calendar. Hell, I don't want to talk about recruiting calendar. Let me see. Recruiting calendar. What do you want? What is there about the recruiting calendar that you got there? What do you see there? Because I really hadn't been able to parse through it. Okay, just kind of reading here. The NCAA, the Division I Men's Basketball Oversight Committee, adopted legislation that modifies the recruiting calendar. Changes to the recruiting calendar include reducing. This is related to basketball, so this is basketball related. The changes to the recruiting calendar include reducing spring non-scholastic evaluation periods from 2 weekends to 1 weekend and moving the period to May after the transfer window closes. So that doesn't seem like a good thing because those 2 weekends were your club. That's your sort of those EYBL type things, your those type of exposure events.
Yes.
Extending current dead periods in May and July. Adding Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Juneteenth as dead periods. That's interesting because I know like Father's Day falls in June, which is
Third weekend.
That's
Third weekend.
Yeah, that's usually an important weekend in the summer because you got high school teams that are usually playing together in the month of June. So that takes away an exposure weekend right there.
Well, it just says Father's Day. So that's
the
probably makes it a Friday, Saturday event.
Okay, gotcha. You're right. Good point. Okay. Reducing the number of days for non-scholastic evaluation periods and the NCAA College Basketball Academy. I don't know how many days they currently are or what it's going down to. Another bullet point, allowing evaluations of international prospects participating on international teams at regularly scheduled international, high school, and club team practices, competition, leagues, cups, tournaments during the academic year recruiting period. And then making all academic international recruiting evaluation opportunities count towards the limit in recruiting person days, which is 100, and limiting the opportunities per prospective student athlete per year. That's 7. All right. Your thoughts, Drew?
You forgot to finally June evaluation may now be conducted at approved scholastic and intercollegiate events that occur at any locations other than an NCAA Division I school.
Okay.
Those are those high school camps. Some states have state camps that they do during that time.
I thought so, that was all
okay. Right, but they're just saying it has to be approved. It cannot be at a Division I facility, NCAA Division I place. So my thoughts with this. Let's start off with the one in May. I'm concerned about the one in May. If we are recruiting, well, hopefully, if you're a senior, you're signed by the May camp, because by them reducing the time in May, if I remember right, that only leaves like that third weekend in May now, or is it the first weekend in May? I'm hoping that it's the first weekend in May that it left, with them eliminating the to one weekend, because the second weekend obviously is Mother's Day.
Mother's Day weekend, right?
Right. If it's the third weekend in May, you have a lot of high school graduations starting that third weekend in May. So I'm hoping that the first weekend in May is still the weekend that they left to allow for recruiting. Father's Day, Juneteenth, which butt up to each other. Usually Father's Day is a Sunday and Juneteenth has become the Monday holiday now, the way the calendar has rolled since Juneteenth became a holiday. No problem with this. My concern, I won't say concern, my questioning with this is high school kids are already having a hard enough time getting recruited by colleges, especially if you're not one of those top 50 players in the nation, because collegiate coaches are living in the transfer portal. So seems like to me that we're pushing away the high school student even further and further out of the mind of the Division Ones. Now, as a Division II or NAIA coach, yeah, I love it, because these restrictions don't apply at that level. you still have pretty much open recruiting calendar at the Division II and NAIA level. So hopefully you can convince some of those players to come and play at your camps, or you can go see them at other events. But you know as well as I do, formerly being on the AAU circuit, Brian, like you were, a lot of these kids don't want to play in these events unless they know college scouts are going to be there.
Yeah, well, and the leagues are strategic about playing during those periods. You know, they're strategic about when they have these events. But
The Nike, EYBL, Under
I'll say this
Armour,
though. I'll say this
Adidas.
though. Let me add this. I'll say this, Drew, because of the power of streaming. I don't know how much is really affected, because a lot of these top level tournaments are streaming games, and I would imagine they're making their streams available to college coaches, and maybe they're charging college coaches, just like they're saying, hey, if you want a book of our guys, you know, you can get a subscription.
Yeah, I pay $500 for this book.
Yeah, or maybe, you know, hey, the fact that the games are online, I mean, this is probably an expense that a lot of programs can go ahead and suck up, because a lot of times they're having like you can get any games you want for the day. So you may get a chance to watch a team with a certain player and not have to leave your office or your home. You know, I think a lot of you know, it's one of those questions, Drew, that I'd love to hear from some college coaches and find out how much of utilizing the ability to stream these games in these weekends when they can't go, how many of them do utilize it, you know? Do they? I would think you would, if you were one of those hustlers, one of those recruiting guys who wants to make sure you cover all bases. So I don't know. I don't know if you're at a disadvantage because of the recruiting period. Maybe if anything, what they're doing, Drew, is they're saving college budgets than saying, hey, you don't have to travel as much. You know? So I don't know. I'd love to kind of have that conversation. I may have to start doing that over the course of this month, is maybe, you know, the few college coaches and assistant coaches I do know, and maybe have that conversation and kind of say how many guys are utilizing the streaming services, so on and so forth, that are out there. All right. Can we get into talking about some of the events from the past week and maybe some games going in to this weekend?
Sure.
All right. As you can see down on the ticker, those are your Division I scores from the SWAC, MEAC, OVC, CAAA, men and women, as well as games that are happening tomorrow. So we won't waste your time going through scores. I will point out, we can kind of just maybe hit a couple of talking points at each level, anything that is interesting or of interest to you. I will say, starting in the SWAC for the men, Southern looked pretty impressive last night. Watching them play Florida A&M, Southern improved to 3-0 in the conference, 9-7 overall. They won 5 games in a row. In that game last night against FAMU, I want to make sure I shout the young man out for Southern. Tyrion Joseph scored 33 points. Drew, listen to this stat line. This is a stat line I think you might appreciate. He was 12 of 24 from the field, 8 of 19 from the three-point line, 1 of 5 at the free throw line, 33 points in 38 minutes. Yeah. And if I recall those threes, I want to look and make sure those threes. He was 8. Well, I won't say he was 8 of 14, but let's just say again, in total, Southern hit 12 threes. He had 8 of them. In the second half is when I believe he hit most of them, because in the second half, Southern was 8 of 14, shot 57% from the three-point arc. Of course, anybody who watched me and Keith Hadley from Fangs Up podcast, FQ FAMU is the Twitter handle at FQ FAMU. We were doing a watch party last night or yesterday during the game, and I don't know if FAMU, I don't know what they could have done, but they just didn't seem to be locked into stopping Joseph. But Joseph was in fuego, as they say, or the great Dan Patrick would say. He was in fuego. And also Jackson State remained undefeated in the SWAC. Now they didn't play Saturday. Jackson State actually got their third win on Thursday. No, I'm sorry. Jackson State did play Saturday. I'm ahead.
Yeah, they don't play Monday.
That's what it is.
They don't play Monday.
Yeah, they got a 75-67 win over Alabama A&M. And so Jackson State is 3-0 in conference, the last two unbeaten conference team. Of course, there's 3 teams with 1 loss. Any other SWAC men's info or news you want to touch on, maybe before we jump over to the women in the SWAC?
Nah, let's go ahead and jump over. Although I do see Texas Southern did get a victory, I do believe.
Yeah,
for that first weekend.
A couple of women's teams got some big wins the other day, and let me make sure I pull this up. Texas Southern with a 85-80 victory over UAPB. That was a huge win for them, and I think that was Texas Southern's second win in conference. This is a team that was 1-10 coming into the start of conference play, and so they're now 3-11. Florida A&M got their first win of the conference season with a victory over Southern, 59-53. Congratulations to Coach Bridget Gordon getting her first SWAC win. The Rattlers are just now 2-11. So 2 teams that many people didn't expect to be very successful got 2 wins. Jackson State is now the lone unbeaten team on the women's side. They have won 3 games in a row. And I did also want to take a second to give a shout out to Miss Daphne White of Jackson State. I saw this on Twitter, or X as it's now known. She shared on social media that she had a torn ACL, which I believe occurred during the Alcorn State game last weekend. White is 6'5", a grad student in her second season at Jackson State. She averaged this season 8.6 points a game. 4.4 rebounds. Last year, she averaged about 10 points a game. Yeah, so anything else you want to add there on the women's side, Drew?
No, that's it on the women's side.
Yeah. Some interesting games. I don't know what's happening this in terms of interest. Southern versus probably the game of the day on the women's side going into MLK Day will be Southern traveling to Bethune. Bethune lost to Grambling State, their first loss in conference. I mean, Bethune is like 10-5 now. Southern, the defending SWAC champs. So that'll be a good game. That'll be on YouTube. You can watch that 4:30 Eastern on the Cat Eye Network. That's Bethune's YouTube channel. You've also got Alabama A&M and Alabama State. Schools playing a doubleheader down in Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, yes.
Is it Mobile? What I say? Mobile.
Mobile.
Yeah, that's what I thought I said. Mobile, Alabama. What's your thoughts? Any thoughts in terms of being able to view these games, Drew? You got any thoughts on the fact that a lot of these games you have to get on the pay? You got to go into the pay-per-view method to watch a lot of these games. Any thoughts you have about that? I know it's been one of those hot topics, one of those sub-hot topics over the past week.
Last week I went into what I expect if I'm going to pay for a game. So I'm not going to go back over those again. Each of these institutions have their reasons for doing this. I understand the model, but I would be really interested to see what the model looks like, what the numbers look like. Are people paying for these games?
Yeah,
I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see what's your streaming numbers. You know, if you've got I'm just gonna say 100 people paying for the game, and I wonder what it costs. Maybe $9.99 a game, or they probably have a season pack. I don't know. See, because I don't. What does Rattler Plus cost to view games?
It's funny you ask. So Rattler Plus for the day for a non-football game was $6.99. So I was able to watch both games for $6.99.
And the cost of a ticket, I believe, is $15.
Let me go back. Let me add. To watch video was $6.99. The audio was free. So if I just wanted to listen to the audio,
radio.
Well, it's not on radio, so I got to say audio because I don't.
I'm just saying what I say, old-fashioned radio type audio.
Right. The audio broadcast of the game is free, and you could do live stats, which are free as well. So that's what we did kind of with the watch party, although I didn't really run audio, but I was able to go back and show replays because the only thing you can't do is show live. So, I was advised don't do anything live, but I could go back and show replays through the game. And so that was easy to do. Edwin, I'm curious. Southern has their games behind a paywall. Do you pay for the Southern home games? What cost is that?
And anybody else whose school has a pay-per-view, what is your cost, both daily and $9.99 a month? Now, that's something I could do with.
Is that Rattlers Plus, Kylan? If Rattlers Plus is $9.99 a month, then I'm mad I just paid $6.99 for the day. I look right past that option. I wasn't even thinking about that. That was a fail on my part. I should have just paid $9.99. And I could have watched.
They pay for each game.
Oh, okay. We pay for each game for Southern. But okay, Edwin, you pay for each game, but why not just get the season or
do they have a season package? Do they even have one? That's the question. That's the first question.
I gotta believe. I bet they do. I can't see them not having a season package. That would be ridiculous not to have one. Jumping over to the MEAC here while we wait to see Edwin's response. Howard got a win. Howard was Howard and Maryland Eastern Shore, the only two men's team to play yesterday in the MEAC. That's men and women. Howard won 72-61. How about this great promotion?
And why did only one team don't play? Why did only the men play? That's what I'm curious about.
Great question. I don't know. But I will say this. I'll give a shout out to Howard. I saw them doing a really cool promotion via their social media in which they had their basketball players probably in the student union giving away tickets if people followed the basketball social media account, whether it be Twitter or Instagram. So it's like, they're basketball players in the student union giving out free tickets to the game. It's like, hey, all you got to do is follow Howard men's basketball. Seemed like a good idea. I don't know how packed the Burr Gymnasium was, but seems like a great promotion. It looked pretty good, so I was encouraging. A great way to get out and interact with the student body, just in case if they don't know you. So shout out to Howard men's basketball for that. On MLK Day, Demetra says the students at Howard don't get free tickets. Okay, so
wow. You mean I pay a student act fee and can't come to the game for free?
Do they pay? Are you sure Howard students pay a student activity fee?
Yes,
they do.
Yes. I'm assuming everybody charges a student act fee.
Don't assume. See, oh, okay. $15 to see both games in person. Yeah, so all right, so that's yeah, well, you know,
EA, part of that is the fact that we're not selling the sponsorships, or we're not getting enough views to justify selling the sponsorships where somebody wants to invest in the sponsorships.
And even though you have a sponsorship deal with a couple of broadcast companies, they aren't committed to showing every game. You know, they have these contracts, and I know there was a big fuss about the whole Grambling, and you know, where Grambling was going to broadcast their game at. And you know, that whole thing when the SWAC issued a letter to them, and you know, but I see that's where, if things weren't so contentious, and if broadcast entities were more, broadcast entities could work with the SWAC, because again, if you have a company, whether it be HBCU Go or ESPN, if they aren't scheduled to broadcast a game, you know, there's got to be a negotiating window there to make the games available to broadcast. That can be negotiated, I believe. But anyway, that's why schools turn to the pay-per-view YouTube channel. You know, now I'd love to find out if it ever gets reported in their annual budget, the revenue that they get from these streams. That'd be curious to see when they do the report.
State institution.
It is a state
institution. Yeah. But is it hidden or is it explicit?
Yeah. Well, they know the
and
number.
What I mean hidden, it could be you know, hidden
into
some type
revenue.
of revenue, ticket revenue, or something along those lines, or is it a separate line item?
Yeah. Let's see. Without seeing the viewership numbers, yeah.
Oh, of course they're going to be higher for free, Edwin. So, you know, and here's the thing: when you monetize your whatever sport it is or anything, you put a value to it. So, Edwin, you as a Southern fan have to figure out, is my $10, $11, and how many of our assists that you said after the fees, is that valuable to me to watch my Southern Jaguars? Is my fandom worth $11 per game? That's what you and any other Southern Jaguar fan has to figure out. What is the value? So you've assigned it. This is something Southern thinks this is something that is valuable. That's why they assigned that dollar amount to it, $9.99 plus the fees. So, and sometimes when you give stuff away and you give it away for free for too long, it's hard to all of a sudden start charging. It takes a shift in mindset from not only the people who are charging, but the consumer on the other end who have to pay. And I fought this battle. I've been in the back rooms where these type of discussions have been had, Edwin, from an institutional point of view. Do we charge for this event that we've never charged for before? How do we do it? How do we sell this to the fans? And one of the things I was saying with selling this to the fans was those added things that you get. Like, for example, you don't get to see a post-game interview if you're in the arena. But if I'm doing a pay-per-view,
it should be available.
I get that post-game interview. I should have that post-game interview.
It should be set up.
Yes.
To do this.
Right. And I'll take our good buddy Charles Edmond at Alcorn Sports Radio. I know every game he does a post-game interview with the coaches. He does the women's coach usually during the halftime of the men's game, and he does the men's coach and possibly a player immediately after the game before they head to the locker room. You know, that would be something that I would get. Halftime, are you just running a bunch of stuff, or are you running some type of feature? I don't get that feature when I'm in the Baby Dome on the Jumbotron. So, you know, those are the type of things. If you're going to ask me to invest, and I'm going back into it, Ryan. You got me started, damn it. But those are those type of value added things that I don't.
I agree with you. I agree with where you're going here with that value added things. Yep.
Just like I need an excuse to come out of my living room to go to your stadium or arena to watch a game. The same thing. I need an excuse to bring that game into my living room. Now for football, it's easy. My excuse is the tailgating, the camaraderie, and everything else, the pageantry that goes around a football game. It's easy for me to justify coming out of my house, going to, you know, Cleve Abbott Alumni Stadium, Bragg Memorial Stadium, the Vet in Jackson. It's very easy to justify that. But for basketball, unless you're a basketball junkie like I am, it's 50-50. Me, I'd much rather be in person watching a basketball game. Always have, always will. I will watch them on TV or my video screen, my iPad or whatever, when I have an opportunity to. But I'd much rather be in the arena for basketball. But that's as a former coach and everything else, because there's certain things that I pick up in the arena that the average fan does not pick up on, you know. So that's just me. That's my preference. I've been on my soapbox too long.
A&T Roy, look, hey, I might have been somebody that questioned the Flow Sports, but talking to you A&T guys and even Howard, I don't want no, I'm in Hampton, but more so listening to you A&T guys. I'm gonna tell you what, the big advantage is if you're getting men and women's basketball along with volleyball, baseball, and softball, you are getting the deal of a lifetime right there for $100. Because not only are you supporting your university, but you're getting access to those games. Now, my question is, who's producing that? Is A&T? Is that a Aggie production, meaning the A&T State, whether it be the student run or whether it be the athletic department hiring a third party, somebody is producing that game and that content. But again, the biggest miss, and I'm gonna speak about FAMU. The biggest miss for FAMU is that I can't get baseball and softball games via
but there's a whole other reason on why on that though, Brian.
Yeah, there is baseball.
That's
I'm not talking. I'm
That's
not
an
talking about
infrastructure.
that. I get that. I'm just talking about what I can and can't get, and the fact that if A&T is getting $100 for all of that, and I'm paying, if I would pay $99 for a season of Rattlers Plus, I know they got other content that they're selling, but at the end of the day, you want to see the live action. It's the live action that really gets people excited. Let's see. Them boys that he paid
And honestly, Brian,
games. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, it does cost me. I was gonna say that $100, when you actually think about it, Brian, is less than I pay for my Netflix subscription for a year.
Ooh, preach. And when you add that up along with Peacock and Paramount Plus,
ESPN,
Prime
Hulu.
Video, man, look, please stop. It's almost getting to the point where I'm piecemealing a cable bill these days as much as all this stuff is costing.
Yeah.
Alabama A&M did a good job. So Alabama A&M used to do their things on YouTube. So are they behind a paywall these days, Alabama A&M? Because they used to have theirs free on YouTube. Yeah. All right, I'll let you kind of man the chats here for a second. I want to hit the King Day. We were talking about the MEAC here for a second. Coming up on King Day, you got a matchup, Morehouse traveling to Howard. Now that game, I believe, is a 7:00 game. If I had it posted on the ticker because I saw it from Howard's website.
It's not mid-afternoon like it was last year.
No. The Howard website said 7:00. So, that's what the Howard site said. Okay, yeah, A&M put theirs behind a paywall. So that's probably Dr. Paul Bryant stepping up, said, hey, let's monetize. Okay. Virginia Union Lynchburg is traveling to Norfolk State. So Norfolk State will host a game on King Day. That's a 7:00 game in Norfolk.
Kyler, don't sleep on Morehouse this year. Unlike last year, Morehouse is healthy. And Morehouse is one of the better teams in the SIAC this year.
Speaking of Morehouse, we just saw them. Hopefully you saw them on the Black College Sports Network yesterday. Morehouse took on Allen University yesterday. They ended up winning that contest by a score of 59-57. So a close ball game. You saw that right here on the Black College Sports Network. So.
What was more interesting was the one that happened right down the street, Brian.
Yes, indeed. I'm reading right here from HBCU Game Day, their news wire. For the first time in school history, the Clark Atlanta Panthers knocked off a top 10 nationally ranked opponent as they beat 8th-ranked Benedict 88-84 in overtime Saturday afternoon in a packed house at Epps Gymnasium. Clark Atlanta improved to 10-3 overall, 4-3 in the conference. Benedict, that was their first loss of the season. They dropped to 13-1, 7-1 in conference. Chris Martin of Clark led all scorers with a game-high 32 points. And Shamani Fuller pulled down a season-high and game-high 13 rebounds to lead Clark Atlanta on the boards. Quote from Alfred Jordan, the Clark head coach. He said, defense was the key. That team tonight was the team that started the year off 6-0. If we continue to guard like we did tonight, we will have an amazing second half of the season. So congratulations to Clark on getting the win. Clark will play Allen on Monday in Epps Gym, 8 p.m. tip-off. Yeah, A&T and Hampton playing on King Day on CBS Network, 9 p.m. Man, that's a late start.
That's
That's
a
a late
late start on the East Coast.
Yeah, that's a late start for that one. Let's see. Any other? I mean, I know there's a lot of. I was just kind of taking a bump around here. North Carolina A&T's women. Give a shout out to them. They've won 3 games in a row. I believe they beat Hampton today, so they're sitting in a nice little spot. Let's see if I can any other important. I'm just kind of going through the headlines here.
Yeah, Langston remains undefeated at 15-0. They defeated someone called Langston Men. Yes, someone called Science and Arts, 111-62 on yesterday, and on Thursday they defeated Texas Wesleyan 85-49. So, wow, Langston off to a 15-0 start on the season, man.
All right. Let me jump over here as I'm looking at the CIAA women, because as I take a look at the coaches poll on the D2 level for the women, I see that Virginia State, let's see, the media has Virginia State ranked 22, but the coaches poll has Virginia State. I just saw it. If I can find it. Yep. They've got them ranked number 10 in the latest Division II top 25 coaches poll that came out this past Monday. And so in the CIAA, got to close out some of these windows, doggone it. Let's see. Virginia State. Let's see. Didn't play Saturday. Their last game was on Thursday, where they defeated Livingston 73-63. And next game for them is actually not until looks like it's next Saturday. Wow, okay. So Virginia State doesn't play again until next Saturday when they host Virginia Union in Richmond. So that'll be a good matchup. So Virginia State's women will stay in the top 10. You're funny, Tony Webb. How about them Cowboys? Yeah, that's a loss. Big question is, will they be looking for a new coach on Monday?
And they won't fire him on King Day.
Shoot. Okay. Big game coming up tonight. For those of you who are interested, of course, what channel is carrying that game? The Rams.
NBC.
NBC. Okay. I'll make sure I get there. That'll be a good one. That'll be Matt Stafford of the Rams coming home to play the team.
And since
he could never get to the playoffs. And then former Rams quarterback Jared Goff gets him to the playoffs. That's a great storyline. Great storyline on a Sunday night.
And since that game's about to kick off, I think it's about time for us to pick up this show and get out of here, Brian.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
Couple other on men's basketball, Florida Warrior 14-2 currently, sitting in second place in the Sun Conference. And Langston's women are 13-2, sitting in second place in the Sooner Athletic Conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully, as I said, we'll get our BCSN top 5 available next weekend's show and we'll maybe invite Liv on and kind of do what we talked about. Liv's top 5 versus the BCSN top 5.
You wrong for that, Colin.
Hey, you know what? Are they naming coaches on Tuesday? Hey now. But that's what we're watching. That's
Panthers might.
Panthers might.
Yeah, you know they got this moratorium. They have to get through the first round of the playoffs before they do announce any coaching decisions in the NFL. Okay. Assuming that they finish the first round up on Monday, with everything that's going on in Buffalo with the snow and the travel ban, need to find out if Pittsburgh ever made it into town, because they haven't made it into town.
Pittsburgh, they're not in Buffalo yet.
They hadn't made it as of this morning. They delayed everything because you couldn't get in because of the weather.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Pittsburgh decided to stay in Pittsburgh so they could continue on with their normal routine instead of going to sit in a hotel in Buffalo for 2, possibly 3 days, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that game was supposed to be this afternoon.
It was. It was a smart decision to push it to tomorrow. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Okay, so what's ahead for this upcoming week? Obviously, the big story, your eyes will be turned towards Florida A&M to see how all of this plays out. I'm telling you, the street committee is already abuzz. It's going down, man. I got a feeling this is going to be like the showdown at the OK Corral, Drew. I think everybody's sticking to their guns, and it's going to come down to whether I feel it's going to come down to some Texas Southern type stuff. I got a feeling it's going to be the board of trustees that's going to pull the trigger. And just the question is, which way are they going to shoot, or who are they going to shoot at? That's the question. It's going to really come down to that. And so we'll be waiting to see.
Edwin, I don't know about the players playing. What do you think about them fans, them 70,000 fans that actually showed up for that game? That's the question.
Those are the real heroes and the MVPs. Those are the MVPs, man. Those are guts. I was texting my dad watching that, and I was like, Pops, I don't know if I'd had the guts I don't care whether it was the Colts. I don't know if I'd have the guts to be out there to watch a team that I love in that kind of weather. I really don't. I don't know if I'd have the guts to do it.
Man, look, and as a former official, and I've officiated some cold football games when I used to do high school football. The one people think everybody forget about are the officials. They got heat on those sidelines for those players when they come off the field. Who the only people who don't come off the field, Brian?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They don't come off the field. There's no heater. Nobody is giving them a jacket to put on. Nobody's handing them a warm cup of hot coffee or cocoa. Yeah, man, those officials, they're actually, so I amend
those are the other MVPs.
Yeah, those are the other MVPs.
And I'm going to say this, I'm going to get off of this. Brian, I did a game in a monsoon, it seemed like. It rained so hard for those 2 hours. And it was already cold, but it wasn't. It was about 35 degrees, not quite cold enough for ice, 35, 36 degrees. It was in the mid-30s, and it rained. And, you ran out of dry clothes at halftime because everybody knew it was going to rain. You literally had to change clothes at halftime. And I was on Theraflu for the next 3 days. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. All right. I'll just respond and say, Edwin, I've seen it. And, I don't have that kind of, it is what it is. I'd love to see how, I bet it's no different than other contracts that athletic administrators have. I really don't think it's any different. So I'll just say that. It is what it is. I'm not going to turn the focus to there. We got to keep our eyes on what's really important in this issue, or these issues rather. Okay, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Put in the chat room who you got tonight, Rams or Lions. Real quick, type it up. I'll give it a quick 20 seconds here to see what you guys type in. Lions or Rams? Lions or Rams? Who you got? Tigers and Bears. Lions, Rams, Tigers and Bears.
I got Lions.
You got Lions?
I got the Lions.
I got Rams, surprisingly. I'm gonna go Rams. I'm gonna go with my man coming back home. Okay, I'm seeing a couple people go Lions. More Lions talk. Man, you guys are buying the Kool-Aid with the Lions, huh? There we go. Band Talk says Rams. Edwin says Rams. All right. Well, make sure you're following the Black College Sports Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at MyBCSN1. Let me look over at Instagram and see whether anybody on Instagram has said Lions or Rams. You guys on Instagram who are watching. I can't tell whether I see people who have joined us on Instagram, but I can't tell whether they, kind of picked up the show and then jumped off, or whether they picked up and stayed. So, but anyway, appreciate any and everybody who watched us or are watching. I'd say it's probably 3-1 Lions, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you all interacting with us. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button and the like button if you're watching. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe. Join our page.
That was not one of the choices, Band Talk.
Exactly. Wildcats, y'all lost. 2 losses to them Tigers from Grambling. Shame on you. Anyway.
Brian, we can't talk. We can't talk.
Yes, we can talk. Yes, we can talk. The women got to win, brother. The women got to win. Coach.
Yeah, but it wasn't against them.
Huh?
But it wasn't against them. So, it wasn't against them. So,
I wouldn't. I'd moved on. Drew. See, you want to bring up old stuff. Not helping me out.
Hey, I saw there's a Kobe Durant sighting. Kobe Durant sighting.
He made a tackle.
He pushed somebody out of bounds.
Yeah, well, hopefully his season lasts longer than Marquise Bell. So we'll see. We'll see.
He'll get credited for the tackle.
Hey now. All right. On that note, let's go ahead and pick it up, get out of here. Hey, go check out the BCSN Pod Zone. If you're a podcast listener, everywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find it on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. Just search BCSN Pod Zone. I don't care if you listen to the shows or not. I would just like for you to go download and rate, review, subscribe, help the algorithm out. And as always, we encourage you to share the show with a friend. I know there's somebody in your network who is starving for some HBCU sports content. Send them over to the Black College Sports Network. We have shows on practically every day during the week. Not only our show, but you can find Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The O&G Strike Zone, focusing on Florida A&M athletics on Wednesday. The Carlos Brown Show on Saturdays, and more shows to come. What do you got, Drew?
I was going to say condolences go out to my family, but not my personal family, but all my people back in Tuskegee, Alabama. Found out last night a very big community leader, especially when it comes to youth sports, passed away overnight. This is Cedric Bruno Brooks, passed away. Very instrumental in the Tuskegee, Macon County, Alabama area. Some of the kids that you've seen out of that area that are playing at the collegiate level, he he has coached some of those kids coming up over the years. He and I both have coached some of those kids coming up over the years. So thoughts and prayers for those in back in Tuskegee. So just wanted to get that out there before I get out of here. I don't know if anybody from Tuskegee is watching, but just wanted to make sure I got that out.
Well said. For A.D. Drew, I'm Bryan Fulford.
And he was young.
I'm sorry. And he was what?
I say, and he was not that old. He was around our age, Ryan.
All right. Well, condolences to the family.
Oh yes, thank you, Edwin, for putting that out. I forgot about that one. The administrator at Lincoln of Missouri, the HBCU in my home state, Lincoln of Missouri. Very tragic what has happened there to Dr. Kendi Bailey. If you haven't read that story, it is tragic. Check on your peoples, not only for their physical health, but their mental health. Please just go and read it, and let's be supportive of not only her family, but the students and all those affected at Lincoln of Missouri, the Blue Tigers of Lincoln. I know my brother is an alum of Lincoln University. I have not had a chance to talk to him to see if he had any interaction with her back in the day. But tragic. I'm pretty sure you've heard about that one, Bryan.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it definitely is a tragic story. All right. Well, condolences to the Lincoln community and to Dr. Candia Bailey's family. And with that said, we will close the show out. Thank you all for watching us. Share it with a friend, somebody in your network that's starving for some HBCU sports, and more news to come as it happens over the course of the week. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap. That's A.D. Drew. I'm Bryan Fulford. Be well. Take care of yourselves this week.
Travel light, everybody.
All right. We're out of here. Peace out.
Mahalo.
But you stay on hard.